Welcome back. Now we answer questions we receive from you, our viewers. If you have a question, visit our website, QuranSpeaks.com. Dr. Shabir, the question is about the shahadah process. So you'll have to explain what shahadah is. But the question is, does the shahadah process include a full bath and circumcision? Should it be performed in a mosque with an imam and witnesses present? Is it similar to an adult baptism? Please advise.
Okay. So there are different approaches to this question. Some of the scholars who are more of a traditional bent, they tend to prescribe that the person should take a bath either before or just after pronouncing the testimony of faith, which is what shahada means.
Mm-hmm.
And some will insist also on the circumcision. But let's try to deconstruct that in a way and look at the basic and build it from the ground up. So first of all, shahada is the testimony of faith. There are two things that one testifies to declare oneself as being part of the Muslim community. That's belief that there is only one God, that we refer to as Allah using the Arabic term, but we can say God with a capital G. And a second, that Muhammad, on whom be peace, this is the messenger of God, meaning that he brought the message of God to the world, and we're trying to follow that message, which means by implication that we're going to follow the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as a model for how we ought to be as human beings. So the two declarations of faith. Now, I said these declarations would, be our pronouncement that we're entering the Muslim community. One might have already been a Muslim at heart prior to this declaration. So that means the person can be a Muslim just between that person and God. But we don't want that to be for too long, because that could be like an intermediary stage. Like one might be learning about Islam over the years. There comes a point where the person feels, you know what, I'm already a Muslim at heart.
Mm-hmm.
What remains for me is to join the Muslim community, let the Muslims know that I'm one of them. So between this and that, like the person is already a Muslim at heart. Let's say theoretically, if this person dies, may God protect us all, then that person dies as a Muslim, because only God has to know that this person is a Muslim. Nobody else needs to know, because God is the ultimate judge. But let's say that person wants to be part of the Muslim community, which naturally every Muslim should want to do, come pray together with the Muslims and so on, socialize with them. Then one needs to be known as a Muslim to the community, and to make oneself known, one comes and makes this declaration public. So how public? Maybe just with two witnesses, maybe the leader of faith in a Muslim institution plus one other witness at the time would solidify this. But it is also a way of making a solemn declaration. Like, let's say one is at home thinking, you know what, I'm a Muslim now by conviction. But then tomorrow one might change one's mind. But when one comes into the Muslim institution and makes that solemn declaration in the presence of witnesses, this is a commitment. And it's being pronounced, it's commitment in words as well. So that's what we expect that will, solidify this person as a Muslim and a new member of the community. It also then puts the burden of responsibility. Burden is not the right word here, because obviously it'll be done with love and pleasure. But it does become a responsibility of the Muslim community to look after this person as a new member of our community, especially if a person is embracing Islam from an environment in which Islam was not very welcome. That person may face some resistance from one's family and friends and so on, ostracism and all of that, maybe even some deprivation of usual financial benefits and all of that. So the Muslim community should look after that person. So it's a two-way street. Now, as for the bath, we know that bath is prescribed for certain ritual Islamic acts, such as, for example, prayer. But it's not so clear that this is prescribed for this circumstance of becoming a Muslim. And what we can say is that by the time of the next prayer, one would want to make sure that one is in a total state of cleanliness to enter into the prayer. But it's not so much for the pronouncement of the declaration of faith itself. As for circumcision, this one is a bit more involved in that this is a known sunnah or regular practice for men in the faith. But if a new person has come into the faith, this is not the first thing I'm going to prescribe for them. I'm going to give them time to become accustomed to the faith. One day they're going to say, you know what, I want to practice this aspect of the faith as well. I want to be circumcised. And in that case, I would say, yeah, congratulations. That's another, notch of, another thing that you have done that solidifies your entrance into the faith and your commitment to live according to the Prophet's way.
So, Dr. Shabir, are you saying that circumcision is required then?
Well, let me say that circumcision is known in Muslim circles as one of the practices of the great prophets in general. And we know more specifically from the Bible in the book of Genesis that Abraham was circumcised even in his old age, and he circumcised his son and people around him, men, that is. And Jesus, on whom be peace, is known from the Gospel according to Luke to have been circumcised on the 8th day. So for Muslims, this is an important practice, but it will be classified as a sunnah, which means that it is a general practice. This is above the level of just recommendation, but it is below the level of obligatory. But having said that, it's an easier matter to circumcise our newborn boys than to impose on a new member of the community, especially when they're advanced in years, that they should now become circumcised. So it's not meant at this level to be an imposition. And in fact, there is a website, Islam Web, that gives fatwas on a number of issues. They have a fatwa there saying that for the new Muslim, it is not to be an imposition, and they cite the tafsir of Al-Qurtubi, a famous book of commentary on the Quran, which in turn cites Al-Hassan, the grandson of the Prophet, peace be upon him, as saying that this is not a requirement for the new Muslim. But at the same time, because it is a known community practice, maybe a new Muslim may, of his own accord, decide to get circumcised, and that will be a good thing because it will be one of the practices that are known from among the practices of the prophets. But I don't want to emphasize this to discourage somebody from becoming a Muslim.
So, Dr. Shabir, how similar is that process of taking the shahadah to the adult baptism?
Well, in the adult baptism that we know from Christianity, one is dipped in the water. The equivalent of that would be that the Muslim, in preparation for prayer, would wash one's complete body from major impurities and then wash the extremities just in preparation for the prayer. So this would be an ongoing process.
It happens daily.
It happens daily. So it's not a once and for all baptism.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
If you enjoyed this video, click like and subscribe, and please donate to support our work at QuranSpeaks.com.